I am pretty good. I'm actually really good because next week I'm not going to be here because I'm going to be in Vegas on my hens. I'm very, very lucky. So we're now less than a week from that. And I'm having an okay game week. So things are looking pretty positive at the moment. Yeah. Mhm. Very rare. This is our What we're doing here is we're putting our optimistic lenses on and we're hoping for sunshine and rainbows on this occasion. We're hoping for double magic. Oh, okay. So I just sound like a crazy person, just waffling to myself. Not unusual, by the way. But they not hear you the whole time? It's really
No.
strange
There we
because
go.
you
I'm in. They should be able to hear me now. Hi, guys. Sorry
take
about
two.
that. No idea what happened there. For some reason it didn't pick up my audio, so apologies for that. Anyway, can you hear both of us okay now? Hopefully you can.
I think Matthew has just said we can't hear you, Nim, you're muted.
No, I
Is
think
Nim still muted?
I'm
Can
not
someone
now. I don't
clarify?
think. I think we're all good now. Um,
Nuclear atoms. Could you repeat everything from the start, please?
Yeah. Okay. They can hear me. They can hear me. Okay, cool. Right. Well, I said, hi, guys. Welcome back to the Transfer Target stream. All ready for Game Week 35. I'm joined as always by Kylie. And then Kylie said her bit. And I said that we're going into a rare single game week. Yes, Kylie. I mean, it's a bit abnormal for us, isn't it, at this point with so many doubles around. But then I said we'll get into it, and here we are with Coutinho. So our first pick is Coutinho, and you may think this is an odd one based on recent form, but the thinking here, as I was saying, is that we want to get ahead of the curve, right, Kay? And
Yeah.
that's when Kylie was saying that, yeah.
Something about rainbows.
Yeah, that one there.
Makes sense.
Coutinho has 66 points so far this season in 993 minutes. Considering his teammate Ramsey has played over double those minutes and has just 36 more points, it's not bad at all, really. That kind of leads you to think, had Coutinho, been around a bit longer, he may be up there with a Ramsey type in terms of points. He has managed 4 goals and 3 assists since his arrival in Game Week 22. But he has been a little quiet of late, a bit like me, eh? His last returns came in the double Game Week 28, for those of you that did have him. Brilliant stuff, where he got that monster haul of 2 goals and 1 assist. One of those goals coming in the last 6 matches against Leeds. He loves a goal against Leeds, it seems. Coutinho has dropped a lot in ownership since then. He peaked at around 30-something%, I believe, and is now back down to around 11.5%. It's making him a bit more of a differential than he has been at previous points in the season. Dropping in popularity also means dropping in price, and he's now back down to his starting price of 7 million. So, in terms of inflation, he's an absolute bargain right now. A decent price for a player who we know can haul in good fixtures with a double game week, right, Kylie?
Yeah, he definitely can. I'm sure there's many others like myself who enjoyed that Game Week 28 haul. And in fact, there's probably plenty of people in the same boat who had planned to captain him for that one and then got spooked because Villa were frankly a bit crap in the build up to it.
Yeah.
That all sounds familiar. Hopefully that's going to be the same case this time. I think we're all kind of optimistic about that. Do you know what? Villa are really difficult to kind of get a grip on. In terms of results, even in terms of the stats, because if you look at their attacking stats for the last 6 game weeks, or the last 6 matches, it's really inconsistent. It's quite difficult to get a story. So they've only scored 5 goals. And not all of, I mean, you'd have expected more, particularly against Tottenham, right? So that 5 goals is pretty poor. They've had 81 attempts, which is not bad. I think that's 6th best. And in fact, that's only 4 less than Liverpool had in that period. And we obviously look at Liverpool as a juggernaut of an attack. They've had 33 shots on target. That is 3rd best. And in fact, only Chelsea and City are better than that. And then they've only had 8 big chances total over that period, which is sort of bottom end of the table. So you can see, even in terms of those metrics, they're not all coming together for like one consistent story. And that can be quite a deterrent for people who are looking to invest in Villa. Obviously, the big appeal with them is their fixtures. And they feel like a bit of a fixture punt. And we have to take those kind of choices at this end of the season, particularly with the ones that are lower owned, and especially with someone who is being sold by people. And you can understand why people have been disillusioned by him and are selling. It's 5 blanks in a row, I think. And essentially since his last haul. And those hauls that he's had have come against Leeds twice, Southampton once. So that doesn't bode hugely well, unless you consider the majority of the opposition that they have left and the caliber of that. I mean, the big appeal is, of course, this game week ahead of their double being Norwich, who are comfortably worst for XGC. Last 6, their XGC is 12.95. So that's, 13 goals. I think they've conceded 11 in that period. So they've bested their XGC, but it's still horrific. And to be honest, Burnley aren't massively better than that. And they play Burnley twice, one in each of the double game weeks. And of course, they also play Liverpool in 36, and then they play Palace in 37. So now seems like a good time to get in, kind of try and maximize the Norwich game, and then have the doubles and sort of coast through. In terms of his stats, XG, of 1.03. Not amazing, obviously. It's a little bit uninspired. It's consistent with what we've sort of seen of them. But his actual attempts aren't too bad. It's 13 attempts, 4 in the box, 6 on target. So nearly 50% on target, 10 chances created. None of that is too bad. So I think with Coutinho, you look at it and you go, he's got some opposition that is like the teams, that kind of flat track bully moment, like the teams that he has performed well against previously. You're hoping for a repeat of game week 28 double mayhem. May or may not happen. and the challenge that people have, of course, is that there is so much competition in midfield. But he does feel like he's not going to get rotated in the way that some of those Chelsea guys will, some others will. So he feels fairly stable, and if he gets something, you're golden. So I think he's worth the punt, just based on fixtures alone.
Yeah, I don't own Coutinho, and I didn't for his last haul, and it absolutely hurt. It'd be nice to have him for these fixtures, and it would mean. The problem is, it would mean losing another double game week midfielder for myself in order to fit him in. So, without a wild card or anything, it's a bit tougher for me, because it means losing like a Saka or a Kulusevski or something like that. If Saka had been out injured, then I may have considered that switch. But I have seen training pictures with Saka today, so I think Saka is fine. So it makes life a little more difficult for me to own him, but I really would like to own him for these next run of fixtures for sure.
Yeah, I am bringing him in. I did have him last time, and that was highly enjoyable. I've only just wildcarded, surprised because that's not what you heard last week.
No, I was going to say, hang on, what? You mean you've just hit it right?
No, quick recap. So I was pretty clear on my transfers last week. I did bring Mount and Werner in, and then 1 hour before the deadline, I realized that I had no defense.
Okay.
And in fact, the only defender that I was certain would start was Robbo, who everyone else was certain wouldn't start. That wasn't encouraging. It had Barnes and Foden, and there was a lot of rumors about these guys not playing. So I ended up doing my wildcard ultimately in about half an hour.
Okay.
I don't know why I do this to myself. It's actually gone quite well because I kept Robbo. And I brought KDB in, one of our picks from last week.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. But because I wildcarded, I am now well set up for the next few weeks. And I do have all doublers at the moment. So bringing Coutinho in is something of a luxury transfer because I'd be bringing him in for another doubler. But having just wildcarded, I hope that means I don't have injuries. Yeah, unless some come up. So I will do that. But it is kind of tricky. Like you said, it's a Mount or a Kulusevski that would go. And I'm open to selling Kulusevski. But we shall see. But I like the punt on him because I think a lot of people might be put off buying him.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to our second transfer target then. And you might consider this one a boring pick, but if you are on a wild card, which Kylie now isn't, or you want a way into Liverpool defence without breaking your bank balance, then Matip could be your man. Liverpool have kept 16 clean sheets with Matip on the pitch, which is almost every game week, as he's only missed out 6 times this season, racking up 2,430 minutes in total. And he didn't play last night, which means he's now got a rest for the weekend. He's not the attacking juggernaut of his other teammates in Robson or Trent, but he does carry some attacking threat with 1 goal and 2 assists for the season. One of those assists coming in the 540 minutes of the last 6 matches, and it was against Leeds. So we've got a bit of a running theme here with Coutinho and Matip scoring against Leeds or getting assists against Leeds.
Everyone scores against Leeds. Sorry, Leeds.
Yeah. This season, 6th for all defenders on points this season with 135, only behind his other 3 defensive teammates and the 2 City lads of Laporte and Cancelo. Matip is just 6.5% owned when you compare that to Van Dijk, who is next highest, I think, for Liverpool, around 20%. He's somewhat going under the radar in terms of picks for people's teams, especially as he's just 5.1 million, an absolute bargain for an almost nailed defender and in the best defence in the league, Liverpool having one more clean sheet, than Man City do. So how are his stats looking, Kylie, for those interested in making him a bit of a filler for their teams?
Pretty good. I mean, the thing with Matip is that, his stats are kind of by the by, right? Because really you're buying him because you can't afford the double up of Trent and Robbo, which is completely understandable. Having just wildcarded, I only have Robbo actually instead of Trent.
Welcome. It's just terrifying because I am terrified.
Well, I got rid of Trent a little while back actually, so I've been riding with Robbo only for a while. That has obviously paid off for us because Robbo has been the one in form, but there's definitely, I would have liked to have both on there, had to make a choice, and I went nostalgia because just undying gratitude to the man, and he did reward us this week.
He did.
Last week.
He did.
But there's certainly an element of discomfort in only having him, and obviously Matip will not cover your risk exposure to Trent's attacking returns.
No.
And obviously Van Dijk is so completely nailed. So those guys have a leg above Matip. No one's going to argue that. But of course, with the double game week that Liverpool have in 36, coinciding with literally all the top teams having a double and therefore all the most expensive players that you might want in your team, whether you're wildcarding, free hitting, bench boosting, or just riding on transfers, it's a really expensive team the best team that you can have is an expensive team. So there has to be sacrifices made, and that is a very viable one to have your Salah, say, either Trent or Robbo, depending who you've got, and then have a Matip in there, because I was really surprised by how many games he played. There is a perception with him that he's more prone to rotation. And I've spoken to quite a few friends who are Liverpool fans, and they seem to feel pretty confident that he's going to play. So I think you can take the risk at 5.1, have a bench player there. But Liverpool are second best for XGC over the last 6. They are behind City. They're on 4.55, but they've only conceded 2 goals for that XGC, and that is best in the league in that period. You know that they're going to have to keep it tight at the back over the coming period. We know that obviously City have a better fixture run on paper than Liverpool do. So defense is going to be really important. And because there's such high stakes, I do feel like they are going to prioritize that. They say good defense wins leagues and all of that sort of stuff. So, hopefully. His personal stats from an attacking perspective, an XG of 0.41, not high, but he, given his position, he's a centre back. It's not really a super attacking position. He has an XA of 0.34. Again, that's not bad. What's interesting is he has had 5 attempts in that period, all of which were in the box, all of which were headed attempts.
Yeah.
And none of them were on target. But that being said, delivery from Trent and Robbo, that bodes well. He's keen, he's in there, he's looking to get the opportunity. So I would not be in the least surprised, just given the caliber of delivery that he can expect, that he could nick something. He created one big chance during that period as well. So you could sneak a bit of an attacking return. Otherwise, clean sheets and some bonus points are kind of the main thing that you're going for there. Fixture-wise, they have Newcastle this week, this coming game. Hard to know what to expect out of that. Obviously, Newcastle have been doing really well. They were really the form team for this calendar year.
Yeah.
They did just concede a bag load of goals to Spurs, though, so a little bit of vulnerability there. They then have Spurs and Villa in the double for 36, and then Southampton after that. So it's not terrible fixtures. They're pretty good. For Liverpool, they're good fixtures, right?
Yeah.
It's just that I think people make the comparison to City. So I think also the fact that they're 2-0 up in the Champions League after playing last night, that bodes pretty well. I think if they had that extra goal, we'd maybe all feel more assured that it's fine, because then they can rest a lot more players. But I think I think if you need money and you have someone maybe like a James that you've lost confidence with, I can understand you keeping James as well. But, if you need that money to fund like a really important upgrade somewhere, it is definitely doable.
Yeah.
It might not seem glamorous, but
no.
Okay.
For me, I think it's a cheaper way into a good defence than potentially going for City. So at the moment I have Shah, who I would obviously like to upgrade for that double game week in 36. And so Matip is considerably, less money than, say, a Laporte. So he's a potential option for me of a way into Pool's defence. And I guess it helps soften a little bit of Trent's blow if Liverpool do keep that clean sheet. And so it kind of, if Trent then does anything for those Robbo and Trent owners, as long as it's not a case of, no clean sheet and then all attacking returns, then if they manage to get the clean sheet, then you're at least kind of, keeping with them a little bit, which I quite like. So I suspect for myself he'll be in by game week 36 for that double. All being well at the moment. It's probably between him and Cash, if I'm honest. What about yourself? Have you considered him, or did you get him in on your wild card? Or
I didn't get him in on my wild card. I'm not bench boosting because I've already bench boosted. So
Okay, fair enough.
I've spent sort of all my money in my 11, and
That's
that
fair.
includes Alonso, Cancelo, and Robbo. So hard to bring him in. I think if I was in a position where I needed to, I certainly would look at him. He feels a bit like one of those, in hindsight, why haven't we considered him once? He's been completely overlooked despite doing really, really well and playing the minutes. He just kind of seems to have been the forgotten man a bit.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think it is a good opportunity if anyone's in that position where they need to bring someone in. You can't go wrong with extra Liverpool defence, she says, while not owning Trent.
Yeah. Amen to that. Okay, let's move on to our third and final transfer target and our differential pick. And it is Nketiah. He is our differential pick because, much like Werner was last week, Nketiah's minutes have been few and far between this season. He's only managed 415 for the season, 314 of them coming in the last 6 matches. This just goes to show that Arteta is finally noticing Eddie again. He's finally noticed what he can do. This has been partly because Lacazette has been iffy in form and a little bit unwell, so it's opened the door and given the opportunity to Nketiah, giving him a chance
But also,
to shine.
he wants to leave, right? He's said that, hasn't he?
Yeah, Lacazette.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he said he wants to play Champions League football, which we touched upon last week, and I think that kind of, it's just kind of meant that I think we will buy a striker anyway in the summer, but I think it's giving...
Now in form,
yes.
Jesus.
Well, yes. I mean, we are highly linked with him. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens with Eddie, but I think he deserves his place at the moment. I think Arteta is willing to give him that. He has only scored 2 goals and 1 assist this season, but, in that game time, that's pretty good. 2 of those goals coming in the last 6 matches with his brace against Chelsea, meaning he only has 32 points for the season. Again, not great, but, like we said, very limited minutes. Many wondering how much game time he'll get now. As an Arsenal fan, in my opinion, I do think that it's kind of his place to lose. He has played extremely well the last few matches where Lacazette has been absent. And so I feel like it's really given a boost to the youngsters and that attacking threat to have him there. And I think he's really grasped it with both hands. And so, don't get me wrong, I don't think Lacazette will be pushed out entirely. I think they'll probably share the minutes, if I'm honest. But I do think that Nketiah's minutes will be a lot more consistent than what they have been. So I think the last few games we'll definitely see him, if not starting, but coming on, for a good 20, 30 minutes of the match. And at 5.5 million, he could be worth a punt because there's nothing more dangerous than a player trying to prove themselves, So, it's just 2.4% owned as well, Kylie. I mean, that's a definition of a differential player, right?
It is, and I wonder how many of them actually owned him before he played Chelsea. Because I mean, it's not just that he was like Werner level differential.
No,
he was like genuine forgotten man. Like, I legitimately forgot that he was with us.
Off the map entirely. Yeah, exactly.
I don't mind it. There's definitely a risk, as you said, and you're the Arsenal fan here. Lacazette probably isn't completely pushed out, and also we just, to be honest, don't really know. But Arteta's shown reluctance to play Martinelli in that position, so it doesn't seem like he's going to start doing that now since he's brought Eddie and Nketiah back in from the cold. And Arsenal, we know when they're on song, their attack is ridiculous, right? They get really good metrics going and they deliver. Those young guys do really well, but there's a lot outside of Saka. There's rotation risk anyway.
Absolutely.
Particularly ESR, Martinelli. Like, lots of people have invested in Martinelli, and it looked like he was nailed, and then he misses out for various reasons. So it feels like with those cheaper options in midfield as well, there are risks anyway.
Yes.
So, and given the fact that there's competition in our teams for strong midfielders, we discussed this when we're talking about Coutinho, maybe you don't want to gamble on one of those. So the gamble could be, more of an option up front where you have less competition for really kind of stable and actually scoring picks who are at a sort of budget friendly level. So I think in that respect, if money is an object, which let's be honest, it is for all of us, then he could be worth the punt. I think you have to look at it and not expect him to play every minute. But yes. I think if you look at the teams that are doubling, who's to say there's not going to be rotation amongst all of them anyway? Even our premium picks are subject to some rotation.
Absolutely, especially with them being in bigger competitions and, things like that. I mean, 36 is not a nailed. You're going to have, a very definite starting 11 of 11 doublers
completely
or 15 doublers, depending on whether you're bench boosting. I mean, all you can do is give yourself the best option.
And who do you think has the highest ceiling in whatever that sort of low end of minutes might be? I think that's how you have to look at it. So
absolutely,
we have to, and we always have to move a little bit away from minutes at this point of the season. So I think in that respect, like if you're open to that, because not everyone is, and that's fair enough, but if you are open to that, it could be an option. Now obviously his minutes have been limited, but in his minutes in the last 6 matches, he's got an XG of 1.59 and an XA of 0.23. He has had 10 attempts, 8 of them in the box, 4 on target out of 10. Not hugely amazing, but he's still shooting enough given his limited minutes. He has had 3 big chances though. And where that's really encouraging is because that's talking obviously about the quality of chance that he's getting, therefore the quality of pass or delivery that he's getting as well. And we know that there's a lot of creativity that in that Arsenal team. So that all bodes really well. In fact, 33 minutes per attempt is a really nice amount. He's averaging 3 per match, which is good, especially at his price. He has also created 5 chances. So even though his XA is quite low, he's still creating a little bit. One of those was a big chance as well. So he's not just creating useless opportunities. So I think it could be good. Their fixtures are a little bit mixed. I feel like it's quite hard to read. And they've got West Ham away. Really know what you're going to get with West Ham.
Well, I mean, if they're all benched again, all their big players because of Europe, then it could be okay.
But then look at what they did well against Chelsea.
That's
the thing. So I don't know. And
depends on the West Ham that turns up.
It is, yeah. Then it's Leeds at home, which is always promising.
Well, given our previous 2 picks, I mean, we've had 2 that have done well against Leeds. Maybe, just maybe, this is a premonition for Nketiah.
We haven't told you all, but that's actually the theme of this show is who's playing Leeds. I actually really like Leeds, so I don't want to hate on them.
No.
Sorry, Leeds. But they are playing that. And then, of course, there's an all bets off North London derby with Spurs. So always a big occasion, an especially big occasion in this instance because the fight is on for 4th place and therefore Champions League. So, this is a huge game in that respect. And, I expect there to be goals. I expect it to be a fun match. So it's not one that would particularly put me off attacking play. I wouldn't want defenders, to be honest. Arsenal defense concerns me with the fixtures that they have. But I think from an attacking perspective, it could work out quite well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And North London derby always means a lot to me because my daddy, who sadly passed away, was a Spurs fan, and obviously myself an Arsenal fan, so it was always quite a big deal in our household. But it's one thing I can say of all my years of watching it with him is that it's usually tasty and there's usually a lot of goals. So if you're thinking of selling your Spurs assets, I would be reconsidering that a little bit because usually there are some goals either side. And even if Nketiah didn't start, which I think maybe he could, I do see Arteta thinking, right, this is time, maybe around 60 minutes to bring on some fresh young legs and let let Nketiah run at Spurs, and that could really, it could open.
I mean, the hunger's going to be there. This is the thing. Like, now we've all had question marks over both Arsenal and Spurs in recent weeks because obviously the fight for top four has been on, and we've had some mixed results in that period. But I think like this is always a high stakes match anyway.
Yes.
And that, it's that sort of glory thing of beating each other. But obviously now it's not just beating each other or securing Champions League. It's all of those things wrapped up in one. And, if you secured Champions League by beating your fiercest rival in what is like a sort of 6-pointer in this case, then, all the better for it. So I think it could be fun. I'm looking forward to watching that match anyway.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm considering Nketiah myself, as I am at the moment. I'm thinking I'll bench boost in 36. I'm rolling this week and I'll reconsider, but I think that'll be the case. And to be honest, for that price range, there's only really Eddie or a Watford forward as
we don't want to go there. Everyone has
I've kind of been there already this season. So, yeah.
I think it's been double, like, Watford attack.
Yes. For quite a long time.
How that actually happened is still a mystery to me.
I have no idea. I have Veghurst, who I'm currently thinking about selling on because he doesn't have the double, and it would obviously help free up a bit of cash as well to help invest elsewhere and move Shah up to a Matip, for instance. So definitely considering, may even consider Werner to Nketiah.
Well, that's the one that I would consider.
So that really would kind of free up a lot more cash. And then I'd probably, then it may be kind of more bets off on who to consider at the back there. But yeah, definitely considering it's nice really to be able to talk about Arsenal assets this season, I think, as FPL potential, because in the last couple of seasons
out in the cold
they have a little bit. They have, definitely. Okay, guys, well, let's have some of your questions in the chat. I think there's already been a few, Kylie, if you can grab a couple, but if you've got any more, guys, just pop them in the chat for us, and we'll do a little, a few minutes of catching up with some questions for you guys.
Yes. Okay, I'm scrolling.
I'll also do some scrolling, see what I can find.
Nice.
Toby says, can I take a hit to do Kulusevski to Coutinho? What's your thoughts, Kylie?
Okay, my only thing with that is obviously Coutinho has on paper the better fixture this week. The thing about it is that Spurs-Leicester match is obviously bracketed by the Conference League matches for Leicester. And the Europe is clearly Leicester's priority. We can see based on the kind of teams that they're putting out in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So it's usually a high-scoring match as well, this fixture. If they do put out a weakened team again, which I would expect, and I believe that Leicester fans are expecting as well, then that might be exactly the kind of game that Spurs need to sort of revive their push for Champions League. So that would be my concern in terms of just jumping ship on Spurs, particularly for a hit, particularly given the fact that Coutinho hasn't been in form. But Coutinho does have, the extra 37 fixture.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're going to do that move, you have to do it this week because of the Norwich fixture. I think there's also a case of just bypassing, deciding to keep Kulusevski and then maybe changing it in 37 or something.
Yeah, I'm very much in the same ballpark with that one, if I'm honest. I don't know. I feel like Spurs have to turn it around at some point if they're in with a chance of top four. So they, much like Arsenal, when they dipped a little bit, they kind of turned it around. And I feel like Spurs will need to do the same if they want to continue fighting. So, in the next match or two, you'd expect them to be, going all out for goals, I think. So
I can see a question here from Lisa Marie.
Yeah.
Hi, would you do Livramento, Matip, or Cash? I'm free hitting 37 and bench boosting 36. I could wait to get Cash in on a free hit 37 instead of now, or should I forget Matip and do Cash now? But to be honest, I would probably go Matip, particularly because you're free hitting in 37. So you know that you'll have that Cash double for 37 when Matip doesn't. But Matip on a bench boost I really like. He's nice and cheap. They are a solid defense, and you're kind of getting the best of both. Then you've got the defender for the better team for this game week, and then in 36 for those doubles, and then you're getting the benefit of Cash maybe doing really well in a double game week in 37. So that would be my pick.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think I'd probably go Matip as well. I like him as a pick, and I'm considering him. So I think if you're gonna go for it, then for me he would be a bench boost as well, as Kylie said. And as a bench boost player, he's pretty decent for that pick. So I've no reason why I feel any differently really to what Kylie said.
Here's an interesting one. So from Michael O'Sullivan, wildcard, Salah and Son, or KDB and Mane. I say this is an interesting one because I wildcarded without Salah.
Oh, interesting.
I have Jota at the moment. Now, that was not intended to be sort of like a long-term thing. Okay. I was punting on believing that Jota would play last game, which he did, and hopefully this Newcastle game. So I will be doing a switcheroo situation. And I can get Salah or Mane. I would kind of like to see Mane be rested in the Newcastle match, to be honest, because I'd like to see him get a rest because I think he's more likely to get rested than Salah.
Yeah.
And I quite like the idea of a punt on Mane instead of Salah for the run-in. I am in a chasing position, so that's part of why, I think if you're really happy with your rank, then Salah is obviously a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Salah's a no-brainer just sort of generally anyway, but I don't believe that I would captain Salah in this period. 36 when they double, I have my triple captain to play, and I really want to play it on a City player, possibly De Bruyne. There's risks inherent in that as well, but that sort of negates my feeling like I kind of have to have Salah, and I therefore don't feel I have much advantage in having Salah. So I think it depends on where you want to go, but I think KDB and Mane is really strong. Really strong.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm going to disagree with you again either. I do have Salah, but I'm pretty happy with my ranks, so I'm kind of happy to stay with. I have considered going to KDB from Salah, and I'm kind of happy where I am, so I don't really want to kind of hop off of. If I was wildcarding or free hitting, maybe I'd consider it, but yeah, I think out of those two options, I quite like that one. Chef FPL says start Matip, Emerson Royale, or Rodrigo. I think Matip for myself. Yeah, there out of those ones. And Mikhail says keep Mount and Havertz or part with one, and what to do with James.
Cry with respect to James.
I think you can afford to lose one of the Chelsea lads after this double. I think that this double was the one to have a huge amount of them in, because they had more to fight for. I just feel like by the time we get to 36, they're going to be pretty sewn up in Champions League. I think, they've got FA Cup then. So I think we can see expect some rotation there. I wouldn't want to have both. I'd maybe keep Mount as I think see how tonight goes.
It's a
definitely.
Good point, yeah.
And then I would go from there.
If they win tonight, as we're all thinking they will, then I would definitely be selling. You can go into the double 36 for Chelsea, but I think 3 might be overkill by that stage.
Yeah, agreed. And I think maybe if Mount gets his rest tonight as well, then that might see him sealed for the for the period for the rest of the season, which may help you keep him. Havertz could do really well, and you might like the punt of of his potential points. And I think tonight will sew up a lot, but I do think it can be worth getting off one of them, especially with some of the players like Coutinho's or Foden.
Some exotic other options.
Yeah, exactly. I think you can. Don't get me wrong. I feel like if you're like myself, I've got 3 other singlers that I want to kind of get out of my team with Werner, Mount and Alonso already in my team, and not having many transfers between now and 36 to kind of get rid of those singlers for potential doublers. I don't think it's an absolute need. I just think you have to be aware that, or be prepared for some rotation over that double game week with those players. But I feel like if you wanted to take a hit to punt on somebody else who was maybe more nailed, or you just fancied having a bit more fun with it, then I don't think there's anything wrong with losing one of them at least, and spreading out your kind of chances effectively. Okay, cool. We'll take one more and then we'll head off.
Okay, well, there's 2 short and sweet ones there.
Okay,
so
cool. Yeah, let's go for it then.
Hoxton, KDB for the rest of the season.
Yes. Nice, easy one.
Nice and easy. I would say that is a definite yes for me. Okay, and then Steve Sedman, thoughts on Kane versus Salah for captain game week 35. Sorry if you've talked about it. We actually haven't at all. Obviously, there's lots of other captain content on Scout, so some of that will be really good to look at because they'll probably break down the stats a bit more for you. Yeah. My personal instinct, I own neither, so take this as you will, is I think I would go Kane, actually. I think the Leicester match is one that suits him. It's one that he has a really good, really good history in the Leicester match. And as already discussed, I'm expecting a weakened Leicester team for that, because while Tottenham's priority is Premier League, Leicester's isn't. They're not fighting for those places. They are safe. So Europe is kind of their main concern. So I think I would go Kane. I know that Spurs have been poor attacking wise the last couple of game weeks. Maybe there's a Doherty factor in there because obviously he was really beneficial to their attack. But it's not like Salah's been setting the world on fire. No. So I think that you can gamble on Kane. But it is a personal preference thing, because I think either are viable. They both have good fixtures.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I keep going back and forth myself. I have both of them, and I am kind of flip-flopping between the two. It's been mostly on Salah, and I think seeing him in the Champions League last night, he looked really sharp. He got an assist, but he potentially could have had 2. Only the
Liverpool looked ridiculous in that first half.
The Henderson goal actually ended up being an own goal, but it would have been, an assist for Salah had Henderson got to kept it. I personally thought it was on target, but, it's one of those ones that can go either way by the slightest margin. So he could have had 2 assists last night. He looked really, really good. As you say, Newcastle have been great at the back recently. Don't know, though. I mean, it's still Liverpool, isn't it? In terms of Kane and that situation, Kane has a great record against Brighton and he did nothing last week. So I think that's kind of putting a little bit of doubt in my mind for captaining.
Although Spurs don't have a great record against Brighton. I'm not sure about Kane's personally, but I know that Brighton have been a tricky team.
Yeah, they are a tricky team for a lot of people in general. Yeah. They got us this season as well. But yeah, so but Leicester is, as you say, a great match for Kane. I think it may very well depend on how I feel after this evening's fixtures. So I'm doing pretty well so far. I think I'm on something like 68 points. If Chelsea were to go big tonight, then I may feel like I'd quite like to take the punt on Kane. Otherwise, I may play it slightly more safe on Salah. I think that's probably how I'm looking at it. Yep. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so sorry about the start
Ghost Nim situation.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what happened there.
It's actually her introducing her new mime act. That will be coming out next season. Fantasy football picks via Mime.
Yes, absolutely. And hopefully, these little gremlins will clean themselves out in the next couple of weeks. But I hope you all have the best of luck for the coming game weeks. I hope you absolutely smash it. But before you go, Kylie will wrap us up with some admin.
Sure. So we're wishing you guys the best of luck this game week. Please, of course, like and subscribe if you enjoy the show. And if you want to see a bit more of Nim and I, you can get links below to those. So best of luck. And well, I won't see you next week because I'll be sipping cocktails in Vegas. But Nim will. So
oh, I think so anyway. If not, we'll definitely be back the week after. So I'll catch you soon, guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.